this is going to be something of a different video to my usual content. It's something that not only involved myself, but my entire family. I came to thinking of the many things I'd both endured and encountered, and one of which affected me to a deep and very personal level. To this day, is still there pricking at the scars that are the memories of what came to be known as Fred. My family and I moved into a house in the late 90s. It wasn't a cliché Victorian house or an old renovated home. It was an entirely new built one. However, it's not always the house that generates the darkness among those within. To help with your imagination and to give you a clear picture of how things play out, I have drawn out a floor plan of the house for each level, which I'll show on the screen now and also at points where necessary. It is said there are several factors which tend to catalyse a haunting, and some of which tend to be very in common with one another. They tend to be having a young child, an infant or baby in the house, a small animal, most oftenly a dog, a pre-teen or just somebody going through their puberty, religious practice, and then also anger, sadness, or just some brooding negative energy. Well, in our house we seem to have all of those things, and after a few years of living there, it seems they contributed towards something that over time became something else. The house gradually became somehow different. It felt bigger, colder, and I, for one, felt smaller. Things changed. I can recall when things first felt different. When my brother and I started to spend more time in the loft. It was converted in a way so it was like a large playroom, filled with toy boxes of Playmobil, which we set up to resemble scenes of Resident Evil, action figures, scale electrics, and so much more. To access the loft, there was one point of entry, and the only light switch was directly above it. The loft itself wasn't entirely well lit. The whole time you were up there, you would feel a sense of unease. It wasn't all the time, but when it was like you were being watched. There were always these ominous dark corners up there, and when we would have to leave, we would never waste our time upon switching off the light, and we would rush back down. I was already scared of the dark, and as such, my bedroom door would always be open with the bathroom light, giving a soft glow to my room. I had a bed which was fitted 3/4 up the wall, with a desk beneath it, the same as my little brother. I felt being high up would give me some comfort and confidence. It turned out I was very wrong. As that heavy sensation in the house grew, I found myself struggling to sleep, and that was when I learned of it. Every night at the same time, around an hour or so after my mum would go to bed, which I recall being rather late, it would make its presence known. The house would be filled with a deathly silence, and the air somehow feels dense. I try to force myself to sleep, but no matter how much I try, something is holding me back. Then it starts. Loud, heavy footsteps in the kitchen, directly below my room. Drawers are then open and closed, their contents shaken and moved within. I was terrified. Something or someone is down there. Everyone but me is long asleep. The noises stopped, and it was a few more minutes before the heavy footsteps resumed, as though it heard me, like it knew I was upstairs. I knew it was looking up the staircase, and now, one step by one, it made its way up, creaking, stopping, and then creaking again. It wasn't sneaking. It wanted to be heard. It has not reached the landing opposite my mum's room, and it has stopped. It's like it's leering towards her doorway, hoping she wakes to see it. After a while, it must tire, and it must continue its inspection, slowly and loudly making its way towards my room. I am now drenched in cold sweat of terror, helpless and frozen. I couldn't think, let alone whimper, as much as I tried, as though something was squeezing my throat. Creak, then a thud. Creak, and a thud. I am facing the wall, the door behind me. I can still see the glow of the bathroom, but it is now at my door. I swear I could hear it breathe. The door then silently began to close shut. That soft glow was slowly drained from my room, and now it is pitch black, my heart pounding heavily, so fast I'm struggling not to cry. The room is filled with malice, like something or someone wants to hurt me, terrify me. It wants me to look. The room grows heavier with the darkness. I manage to shut my eyes, feeling tears form. I black out. I did not want to talk to anyone about what happened. I am, after all, the big brother. I can't be scared. I have to be the brave. No, I have to be the strong one. But it was not long until my little brother confessed to a similar experience. One day we were sat in his room playing, when somehow we got on discussion of creepy things. We began discussing the creepiness of the loft, and that something about the house felt different, scarier. I asked him if he might have heard anything, and unfortunately, he had. He grew quiet. I asked him, "What did you hear?" "It isn't what I heard. It's what happened." I encouraged him to continue. My brother slept in his bed, so that the ladder would lead to where he would have his pillows and rest his head. His feet to where the door led into his room. Unlike me, he had no fear of the dark and did not leave the light on. It was late, and I think that everyone had been asleep for a while. I for some reason couldn't sleep. Even though I was very tired, I laid in bed looking at the ceiling, and I remember turning to face the wall. I began feeling a little drowsy. However, it was then I felt like someone else was in my room. It wasn't like it was you, Mum, or anything. It was like something was there, and it really didn't want me here. Like it really wanted to hurt me. As I lied in bed, despite being covered up, I began feeling cold. Shivers began shooting up my back, like someone waving a silent fan over me. It was then I heard a creak beside my bed. Something had approached the ladder. Then, a second creak. I was stuck, unable to do anything. I didn't want to turn and look at what could be there. I could now feel that it was in level with me. It made no sound, but I could feel something was there. It was something of complete anger, of entire hatred. My bed moved. Something had pressed down on the mattress. It is now getting onto my bed. I then felt a deep compression. Something heavy was here with me. I couldn't move. I didn't want to look. I kept my eyes shut, silently wishing it to go away. My brother and I both experienced hearing Fred downstairs, and all of us in the house also in turn began experiencing horrific nightmares once Fred had started. My mum would have reoccurring dreams where my brother, sisters and I would be trapped either in a car or in the house. Both in each dream would be completely consumed in flames from inside. Despite how much she tried, she could never free us. She said she felt as though there was something inside, rendering her helpless and stopping her from letting us out, despite how much we would scream and cry for her to help us. My brother had a nightmare where he was wandering a place void of detail and cloaked with shadows and darkness. He would hear a voice of a distressed woman crying out. However, it was hard to distinguish what she was saying. He tried to follow her voice, and as he drew nearer, he realized her words. "Where's my baby? Where's my boy?" He came gradually to see her figure as he drew closer, although he could never get close enough to her. He started to feel uneasy as a woman's cries became more hysterical as she ran to and fro. "Where's my baby? Where's my boy?" Suddenly, he felt two bony hands grip his wrists, which forced him into the waking world. And then, through blurred vision, he managed to make out the face of the ghostly woman at the top of his ladder, her face gaunt and skeletal, partly obscured by dirty, stringy black hair. She screamed, "Have you seen my boy?" The nightmares continue, and the experience itself does not falter. For myself and my family, the experiences we had in the house and with Fred are still difficult to talk about. Coming to terms with something like it is overwhelming, both emotionally and spiritually. I did, however, feel it would be a starting point for you guys to get to know me by hearing where I came from and some of my experiences, and trust me, there are many. I decided that instead of making one long video as well, that I would make this into something as a series. There is quite a lot to share on this subject. I will be following this up shortly with a part 2 fairly soon. But until then, please check out some of my other content. I have plenty of my own original horror stories, short films, and much more on the channel. But until next time, I would like to bid you sweet nightmares.